Hi, welcome to Battleground MTG. I'm really excited about this episode. Today, I'm going to be telling you about how I went and viewed the January 6th videotapes. I want to give you some very important information about the mysterious pipe bomber that for some reason the FBI cannot find. Next, we're going to be talking about the anniversary of George Floyd and what has happened to BLM in the past 3 years. You're going to be shocked to find out the truth. Then we're going to end this episode talking about Bud Light and Target, and we're going to ask the very important question, who has the real buying power in America? Is it conservative Americans or is it the woke mob? Join us today. Don't forget to hit share. Send this to your friends. You're going to love this episode.
We'll get into another episode of Battleground MTG, but first we want to thank our partners for today, American Heart for Gold. They are the experts in gold and silver and precious metals. They've got a special offer just for you today. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show, but first, let's kick this thing off with Battleground MTG.
Okay, everyone, let's get started and talk about January 6th. This is the infamous day in history that the Democrats never want to let us forget. But let's break it down and let's talk about it. Now, I want to remind everyone the last 2 years under the speakership of Nancy Pelosi, Republicans had no access to the Capitol video camera tapes. We weren't allowed to see them. We had no idea what they showed. Democrats were in full control, and they controlled everything through their highly produced January 6th committee. Never forget how they actually brought in movie producers to make sure that their narrative was told every single night on the nightly news. Shame on them. That was true partisan, and it was nothing but a witch hunt against President Trump, his administration, and Republicans like myself. But finally, since we have had control of the House starting in January, we are working through these issues and finally investigating what really went on January 6th. Well, just recently, I was able to finally go look at the January 6th videotapes for myself. I know that may surprise many of you as you're anxious for the tapes to be released, but there's a process involved and there's a lot of things to be concerned about. Number one, the left spends a lot of time and a lot of money in funded groups to do anything they can to dox people that were simply standing outside on the Capitol that day using their First Amendment. We know the FBI is politicized, and so is the Department of Justice. As a matter of fact, it's weaponized against the American people, and they are truly persecuting conservatives. So what Republicans are very concerned about in the House is we don't want these videotapes to be used or abused in any way by the left, by people that just sit there and look at the tapes all day long and use facial recognition software to dox people that did nothing wrong on January 6th, so that all of a sudden they find themselves being raided in the middle of the night by Christopher Wray's weaponized FBI and then prosecuted unjustly by Merrick Garland's Department of Justice. So these are the things that we're concerned about as we look at how to let the public see these videotapes and the right way to be responsible with it. But I did view the videotapes, and I hope that every single member of Congress goes and looks at these videotapes for themselves. You see, for most of us, we were inside the House chamber. That's where I was on January 6th. I had no idea what was happening in the hallways. I had no idea what was happening on the Capitol grounds outside. I simply did not know, because my job that day on January 6th as a member of Congress, a brand new member of Congress, by the way, as a matter of fact, I was only sworn in 3 days earlier. My entire focus was objecting legally to Joe Biden's Electoral College votes. That's what I'm allowed to do by the power of the Constitution. And many of us Republicans were focused on that. We were shocked and surprised at the breach of the Capitol on January 6th. But looking at the tapes is very important. Now, here's some more information you need to know. There's a committee in the House called the House Admin Committee. They are leading this investigation, looking deeply into what went on, as well as the Weaponization of Government Committee. These committees, Republicans are focused on digging in to who is really at fault that day. I want to remind all of you, it's very important to remember, Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House. She is the one person that was in charge and had the full responsibility of safety and security of the Capitol on January 6th. The buck stopped with her, not President Trump or anyone else. Sergeant-at-Arms reports to the Speaker, and Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House on January 6, 2021. We know that there were intel reports as early as December about possibilities of violence and threats against the Capitol and members of Congress on January 6th. Nancy Pelosi was fully aware of all of that, but she took the extraordinary measures to change the way things worked in the approval process, that the National Guard would only be brought in upon her approval. So we are very concerned in investigating, and I believe, it's my opinion, that Nancy Pelosi is the one that allowed the dangerous things to happen that day and allowed the breach of the Capitol. That is what we've seen so far, and we're continuing this investigation. And I think that's important to do. Now, as we go through these events, I want to talk to you more about this. There is a suspect the FBI has on their most wanted list that, surprisingly, they forget about. The left forgets about, the Democrats forget about, and the FBI just can't find for some reason. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the pipe bomber. You know, that suspicious, dangerous person that supposedly planted dangerous pipe bombs at the DNC and at the Republican committee headquarters as well. They did that on the night of January 5th, the night before January 6th. Now, just to remind you, as early on in 2021, in January of 2021, the FBI had videotape of this pipe bomber. As a matter of fact, when I went in and viewed the videotapes just recently, I was able to see video footage of the pipe bomber as well. Now, here's what I want to tell you about. This person, the pipe bomber, they did not go straight to the locations and leave these pipe bombs immediately. And you would think if someone was truly planning for bombs to go off at the NRCC and at the DNC headquarters, they would immediately get there, they would plant their bombs, and they would leave and get out of there as quickly as possible. But that's not what the video footage shows. The video footage shows this person walking around back and forth very leisurely, as if they aren't concerned about getting caught with pipe bombs. They seem to just be walking back and forth. As a matter of fact, they walk back and forth in front of the same video camera multiple times, strolling up and down the street, even stopping to put a face mask on when another person is approaching them coming down the sidewalk. This is not the behavior of someone that is prepared to commit a crime, you know, plant bombs that would explode and kill people. Actually, this is the behavior of someone that seems to be wanted to be seen on video camera and isn't concerned about getting caught. Let's also talk about what the FBI knows about this person. The FBI early on in 2021 released reward money up to $500,000 for someone to turn in this so-called pipe bomber. They even have descriptions of their clothing. They have pictures of this person's shoes. They had all of this information on the FBI website, and they were supposedly hunting this person down. Well, here's what I want you to know that's happened since then. Since this time in January of 2021, many conspiracy theories have been launched all over the internet, especially on Twitter. And there's been many theories over who the pipe bomber is that the FBI just can't seem to find. It's really interesting, though, that the FBI is able to find the grandmas, you know, and the different Trump supporters that walk through the Capitol aimlessly videotaping the Capitol or holding an American flag, even the ones that never caused any damage, never fought with police officers, just walked through the Capitol. The FBI was able to find those people, go to their homes in the middle of the night, arrest them. The Department of Justice was able to charge them. They have been prosecuted, and many of them have actually served time in jail. Never forget Jacob Chansley, who they framed as the Q shaman. He has already served time and has already been let out of federal custody. He served his time and he's done. But yet the FBI still can't find the pipe bomber. Well, people all over Twitter and people all over the internet took it upon themselves to figure out who is the pipe bomber. And let me tell you one of the most ridiculous conspiracy theories that has existed in the past several years that Democrats and a bunch of Twitter trolls have shared everywhere has been accusing me of being the pipe bomber, which I have found absolutely shocking, ridiculous, and I really feel sorry for anyone that would actually believe that, because that's a horrible thing to think or believe about me, and it's absolutely not true. Take a look at these videos, take a look at these pictures that have been shown all over Twitter, and you will see how many people have actually watched this. As a matter of fact, on TikTok, there have been 12.2 million views on some of these videos and some of these TikTok videos. There's YouTube videos, there's Twitter posts, there's memes. These are things that I see almost every single day in the comments in my social media. And I cannot believe that so many people would fall for such a horrible lie. Well, let me inform everyone that has been dumb enough to believe these conspiracy theories. I'm not the conspiracy theorist, you are. And now that Republicans are in charge of the House, and we have brave FBI whistleblowers coming forward and talking to committees and having to do anything they can. They're doing anything they can to tell the truth, not only about the pipe bomber, not only about the federal agents that they are saying were involved in January 6th, and we want to know more about these people and these agents. We want to know, were they actual federal agents? Are they CIA contractors? Are these people that work with the FBI and they're informants? We are investigating all of that, and we have brave FBI whistleblowers and other whistleblowers that are coming forward and informing our committees about this information. You see, this should never happen. The federal government should never be weaponized against the people and set up honeypots and traps to draw people in and actually take part in making these people commit crimes and then framing the people to set up a narrative against a president. It's wrong. And I believe that's what happened on January 6th. Well, I want to read to you for an article, just a piece that came out from the Federalist. And this is about an FBI whistleblower that's telling the truth about the pipe bomber. You're going to be shocked. Earlier this month, an FBI whistleblower told the Washington Times the FBI identified the vehicle the suspect entered shortly after planting the bombs, but has not pursued the individual. I want you to understand that. The FBI knew the vehicle that the pipe bomber got in after they planted these pipe bombs, which, by the way, were fake. They weren't even actual bombs. They did not explode, and they couldn't explode. And the FBI knew the car. Let's go further. Here's quoting the Washington Times. The FBI had surveillance video that showed the person entering a car with a visible license plate after exiting a metro stop in Northern Virginia. Kyle Seraphin, a former FBI agent who worked on the case, told the paper that the agency tied whoever the person was that dropped the bombs with surveillance cameras all the way through the train and getting into a car with that license plate. Seraphin also told the Washington Times that the two bombs were inoperable. Now, what have you been told constantly on the news about the pipe bomber? You have not been told that story. As a matter of fact, you've been told lies. You have been told that that pipe bomber was an extremely dangerous person that had planted pipe bombs at the NRCC and the DNC buildings, and that then Vice President-elect Kamala Harris' life was actually in danger and she had been threatened. But yet the real truth is the FBI not only had so much surveillance camera footage, and that's footage that I just recently viewed, and more surveillance footage from the DNC's own security cameras, They even had video footage of the so-called pipe bomber getting into a car. They know the license plate. They watch this person get into a train, and they know that it went to Northern Virginia. But yet the FBI can't find the pipe bomber? This is ridiculous. This shows you that the FBI doesn't care about finding the pipe bomber because they know exactly who the pipe bomber is. And they use their resources and your hard-earned tax dollars to go after people because they support Trump and they were mad about the election of 2020, and these people walked in the Capitol, while they don't go after this person that walked around aimlessly with fake pipe bombs, and then they know exactly the car the person drove, they know the license tag, and they know where it went in Northern Virginia. This should insult every single one of you, and this is why we have to hold the FBI accountable. Well, I want to remind you that I introduced articles of impeachment against Christopher Wray, the FBI director. And the reason why I did so is for reasons just like this. The FBI has become nothing but a political operation for the Democrat Party and a protection force for Joe Biden, the Democrat president of the United States. And I'm appalled and disgusted with it. And then I also want to follow up with this. For any of you fools out there, just because you hate me because I'm a Republican, just because you hate me because I support President Trump, just because you hate me because I'm pro-life, and because I don't want children attacked with the trans agenda, and because I hate the national debt, and because I'm against the war in Ukraine, and because I want to actually defend our border, and because I think a wall should be built. Just because you hate me for all of those reasons does not mean that you can accuse me baselessly of being a so-called pipe bomber and trying to commit a crime that I never did. So you want to know who the real conspiracy theorists are? It's a bunch of you trolls on Twitter and a bunch of you Democrats that are dumb enough to fall for lies that you see on the internet. I think you guys should wise up and get a little bit smarter, and you should start analyzing, what is the FBI up to? Well, you want to know? It's playing the political game. All right, we'll be right back, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the anniversary of George Floyd, talk about his autopsy report, and talk about how BLM has scammed millions and millions of Americans out of a lot of money, and now they're filing bankruptcy.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com.
This Biden economy is getting hammered by crisis after crisis. Banks are failing, inflation is out of control, and the astronomical debt threatens to choke off Social Security and devastate your retirement funds. Instead of helping, the government is actually targeting 401ks and ROAs with new taxes to pay for their social justice agenda. Now, the good news is that there's a little-known strategy that can protect your financial future. I'm talking about the Gold IRA from American Heart for Gold. Now, this Gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from the looming economic meltdown that's currently happening. And the best part of this method is it's tax and penalty free. Now, analysts predict that the gold is set to hit all-time highs. So if you have retirement funds that you cannot afford to lose, now is the time to call the only precious metal dealer that I trust. And that's our friends over at American Heart for Gold. They'll show you how you can protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. With the finest products, amazing customer service, and a buyback commitment, American Heart for Gold has earned a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them I sent you. This is pretty cool. They'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. So call them now or click the link below. You got to give them a call. 866-706-3350. That's 866-706-3350. Or simply text BATTLE to 65532. That's BATTLE to 65532.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Now that we're at the anniversary of George Floyd's death, I want to recap what happened in the summer of 2020. Most people will never forget. While they try to tell you January 6th was the most infamous day in history, the Democrats and the left always want to deny how $2 billion in damage happened to American cities all over the country. We saw night after night of continuous riots. We saw cities on fire. We saw President Trump having to be put in the bunker by Secret Service. We saw Washington, D.C. nearly burned down. We saw a Wendy's in Atlanta torched and an 8-year-old killed and shot in that parking lot. We saw nearly 30 deaths from these riots, these continuous riots in the summer of rage in 2020. Never forget all the police officers that were injured night after night and attacked every single night that still went back out to try to secure the streets and try to bring peace and maintain safety in communities all over America. There were over 93 police vehicles torched. Many businesses lost their businesses. They were burned, they were rioted, they were looted, and there was so much damage all over the country. This happened after George Floyd's death. Now, his autopsy has been released. The autopsy report has been released. And not enough people know what it says, but I think this is important to talk about. George Floyd's autopsy reports shows that there were no life-threatening injuries, but there were very high deadly amounts of drugs, and one of the drugs is fentanyl. Fentanyl is a dangerous, deadly poison that unfortunately over 300 Americans die from every single day. And George Floyd had a deadly amount of fentanyl in his system. This is what the autopsy report has shown. It did not show life-threatening injuries. No, it showed drugs and the deadly poison that comes from China, goes to the cartels, and is smuggled across our border every single day. This is something that should be talked about. Why isn't the media covering this continuously? Why aren't Americans told over and over again the dangers of fentanyl and how it probably led to George Floyd's death, not necessarily what happened to him? Today, Derek Chauvin is serving a prison sentence. He has a federal sentence of 21 years in jail and a state sentence of 22 and a half years in jail. But you want to know who's not paying the penalty for poisoning Americans every single day? The Mexican cartels. And China is not being held accountable for the fentanyl that they send into our country every single day. Remember, over 300 Americans are being poisoned and murdered. But let's talk more about what happened to BLM. Now, BLM, this was the organization that raised millions and millions of dollars. And you want to know where they raised their money? They raised it on Act Blue fundraising website. Act Blue is the Democrat Party's national fundraising platform. Act Blue is where people go to donate to all kinds of Democrats running for office. They can donate to Joe Biden. They can donate to Kamala Harris. They can donate to Maxine Waters. They can donate to Adam Schiff, AOC, you name it. They can donate to them on Act Blue. But Act Blue served as the fundraising mechanism on behalf of BLM. And let me give you some numbers about how much money they raised. Between July 1st of 2020 to June 30th of 2021, they raised $77 million. That went into BLM. But BLM wasn't started in the summer of 2020. They actually started back in 2013 after the death of Trayvon Martin. This organization started up, and there were many others. But it was the one organization, which is called Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, was the organization that rose to prominence and landed on the Act Blue Democrat fundraising site. Now, some people have alleged that Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation was started and funded by money from China. I don't know if that's true, but that is concerning if it is true. But what we do know is now BLM is reportedly filing bankruptcy. Now, here's the question. How can an organization that raised tens of millions of dollars be filing for bankruptcy? And then I think it should be talked about. Here's the question I'm asking. Did BLM ever pay for any of these communities that they destroyed during their protests that turned into violent riots every single night? Did they ever fund any of these communities to be cleaned up? Did they ever help any of the businesses that were destroyed? Did they ever donate money to the people's lives that were ruined in these cities and communities all over America? The answer is no, as far as I'm concerned. But I will tell you that Antifa joined in heavily into these riots. And the Antifa BLM rioters that were arrested every single night, over 95% of their charges have been dropped, and they are not rotting in jail like many of the protesters and people that did go in the Capitol on January 6th. Nope, there's a two-tier justice system in America, and it's alive and well and easy to see in the way the FBI and the Department of Justice has treated these BLM rioters versus the January 6th rioters, and I think that's a shame. And that's why Republicans in the House have to hold the Department of Justice and the FBI accountable. There should never be a two-tier justice system in America, and this type of abuse of power should not be allowed to continue. I also want to remind you that there were other people affected throughout this time. Never forget Kyle Rittenhouse, who simply was trying to defend his own life, was persecuted in the wake of the George Floyd riots in the summer of 2020. He was defending himself with a firearm, but yet he was arrested, put in jail, stayed in jail for many months, and then went through a horrific trial that was on national television every single day. This is the way the left always treats people on the right, and it's wrong, and it needs to end. I think it's very important to always remember that just because an organization has a name that sounds good, it doesn't mean the organization is doing the right thing. And BLM mismanaged its money. I'll tell you how bad they mismanaged their money. As a matter of fact, one of the co-founders of BLM, they were paying themselves $1 million salaries, and she even paid her own brother $1.6 million a year for so-called security services. Sounds just like Cori Bush paying her husband for security services out of her campaign. These type of things should not happen. All right, when we come back, I'm going to finish up by talking to you about Bud Light, Target, and who really has the buying power in America today.
We want to thank our good friends over at MyPillow.com, the great Mike Lindell. What a patriot he has been for the Republican Party. And right now, he's got specials just in time for Memorial Day. Save up to 80% on selective products. Those mattress toppers, those slippers, the MyPillow 2.0, it's all there on sale. And guess what? When you use the promo code BATTLE, you'll save some green. Go check it out, MyPillow.com, promo code BATTLE. This Biden economy is getting hammered by crisis after crisis. Banks are failing, inflation is out of control, and the astronomical debt threatens to choke off Social Security and devastate your retirement funds. Instead of helping, the government is actually targeting 401ks and ROAs with new taxes to pay for their social justice agenda. Now, the good news is that there's a little-known strategy that can protect your financial future. I'm talking about the Gold IRA from American Heart for Gold. Now, this Gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from the looming economic meltdown that's currently happening. And the best part of this method is it's tax and penalty free. Now, analysts predict that the gold is set to hit all-time highs. So if you have retirement funds that you cannot afford to lose, now is the time to call the only precious metal dealer that I trust. And that's our friends over at American Heart for Gold. They'll show you how you can protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. With the finest products, amazing customer service, and a buyback commitment, American Hartford Gold has earned a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them I sent you. This is pretty cool. They'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. So call them now or click the link below. You got to give them a call. 866-706-3350. That's 866-706-3350. Or simply text BATTLE to 65532. That's BATTLE to 65532.
All right, welcome back, you guys. Joining me now is Brian Glenn from Right Side Broadcasting News. Thanks for joining me, Brian. I wanted to bring you on to talk with me about who has the real buying power in America. Is it conservative Americans or is it the woke mob?
Well, you would think by the way corporate America targets the LGBTQ community that it would be the majority of the consumers in this country, but Marjorie, I don't think that's the case. And I had told you a couple days ago, I kind of brought up a shopping analogy, and I said, look, we've seen, and we'll go into all the boycotts, but we've seen companies like Bud Light take a huge hit because of the social backlash. And if a company is attacked from the left, I'll give Chick-fil-A as a great example. If the left starts to attack Chick-fil-A, what do conservatives do? We absolutely go into Chick-fil-A and support their business, and they really don't, they actually see a spike in business. They don't see a drop at all. But why is it that when, conservatives boycott a company or put them on notice that we're no longer going to shop there or buy their products, why don't we see those brands spike and jump up from the support from the protected segment of society that they are targeting? I don't get it. So I don't see the left having any buying power at all in the marketplace.
I think that's a great analogy. You brought up Chick-fil-A. A lot of us have forgotten about Chick-fil-A being boycotted and targeted so heavily like they did on the left. People were mad at them simply because they closed their doors on Sundays because the owners of Chick-fil-A are Christians and they believe in taking a day of rest like the Bible talks about. Like God says you should rest one day a week. And that's what the owners of Chick-fil-A decided. That's the way they're going to run their company. And they don't apologize for it. And the left targeted them because they're Christians.
And their stance on marriage, gay marriage, their
gay
stance
marriage,
on that.
right.
So that became a huge story. So conservatives around the country flocked to these Chick-fil-A's. And you saw the drive-thrus were a quarter mile down the road, lines out the door. But why do we have cases and cases of Bud Light still on the shelf? You would think that people from the left, these particular organizations, these groups of people would go out and support those brands that are protecting them. But that's not the case here.
Well, that's true. Actually, Chick-fil-A, their business is alive and well, and they're doing really well. I mean, Chick-fil-A did the most incredible job during the COVID shutdowns of keeping their drive-thrus running so that people that were trapped at home and wanted to get out could go to the drive-thru and could still order Chick-fil-A. But you're absolutely right, Brian. When everyone got upset about Dylan Mulvaney showing himself in a bathtub and being an official sponsor of Bud Light, conservative Americans reacted everywhere because they're fed up with the trans agenda being forced on their children. It's not about being anti-gay. It's not about being anti-trans adults. It's all about the trans agenda being forced on our children, and parents are not having it. So the men that drink Bud Light decided, and women, men and women, decided, guess what? They are not going to buy Bud Light anymore. And like you said, there's stacks and stacks and stacks of so many cases and kegs of Bud Light in stores across America, in restaurants and bars across America, so much so that Bud Light has had to go out and buy back their beer. And you've seen the numbers. That's what has happened to their stocks. It has been unbelievable.
Yeah, it's been double-digit drops on that. And so I just ask you, who has the real buying power here? Is it conservatives or is it the liberal base? I'm going to argue right now, there's no argue needed. It's conservatives have the buying power in this country. Okay, the latest corporation that's taking some hits has been Target, and for this recent, summer rollout of packing garments and bathing suits for kids that are transitioning and a lot of the Pride stuff. Now, Target, this is nothing new, Marjorie. Target has always had Pride stuff in their stores. They've always had it, but it is as of lately, it's been really pushed to the forefront when you walk into any store, and I really think that's what people are pushing back on.
Oh, I think so too. When there's many experts talking about it right now. What happened to Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch has shocked the marketing world and really put the fear into boardrooms across America and these big corporations. And many experts right now are saying, well, Target may not suffer the same fate as Bud Light. But here's the deal. Those women that shop at Target are mothers, and they are married to the same guys and other people that drink Bud Light and boycotted Bud Light. So what people are seeing to happen to Target, the experts need to understand that what Target did is they came after people's kids. Mm-hmm. And that is the line in the sand that no one will tolerate anymore. And so for these moms and these women, I really applaud them for taking a stand. They said they don't want to go in Target and see Tuck It and see the Pride stuff in the kids section. And this is not hate on anyone's lifestyle or what they choose to do in their bedrooms. As a matter of fact, we simply believe that what you choose to do sexually is not your identity, and it shouldn't be the face that you wear publicly. And any type of targeting of children is grooming, trying to push sexual orientation, trying to put this type of behavior on children is completely wrong. It's morally wrong. It's ethically wrong. And companies should not be engaged in it. And so I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a mom, and as a woman, I fully understand. I'm sick and tired of the trans agenda, putting men in our sports, putting men in our bathrooms. And as a mother, I would not have it coming after my kids. And so, I think this is why we're seeing this boycott happen, and we're seeing the numbers. We're seeing the numbers happening to Target.
Target has seen the numbers, and they have dropped almost by double digits, almost $10 billion lost in market cap. And thanks to social media, a lot of people have been walking through these Targets and showing all the different segments and really calling it out, which really helps to spread a lot of the information about what's going on with Target. But it didn't stop there. Forgiato Blow, who is a friend of both of ours, and we've actually had an opportunity to have lunch with him and one day and get to meet him. He's got some great music. He even put out a video about Target and then targeting our kids. Check it out.
Yeah. Digital shoppers. Yeah. There's a cleanup on every aisle. Yeah. Target is targeting your kids. Yeah. They put a target on my back, but they targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep it strapped, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. You know that Target's that wrong, trying to play with these kids. It's the mayor of Megaville, I'm preaching again. You know the LGBTQ done went too far. You know they cutting these kids, they leaving trannies with scars. Why they pushing the agenda, promoting sexual genders? I'm only rocking with Bruce, don't rock with no Caitlyn Jenner. You think that gay shit gon' get you paid? Yeah, we gon' see. It's Mar-a-Lago 2024, we trumpin', baby. They put a target on my back, but they targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep it strapped, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Heard the news story, targeting kids. They going after our youth, and yeah, they do it like this. If you ain't mad yet, what protection. Why they trying to mess with the kids and give misconceptions? They manipulating minds and making evil impressions. Got little boys tucking out by time they teens got depression.
We need to clean up on every island inside this door. Satan resides. Wash it with the blood of Christ. It's needed here, so don't think twice. Dating with a Satanist, we all know this is the end. God is coming for revenge. Target is targeting.
They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep it strapped, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they target and target, yeah, they target kids.
Wow, that was great.
He is so creative. He does these songs in a matter of days, if not hours, on a topic. So props to him. Make sure you go follow him on Twitter and push that song, hopefully to #1 on the charts. Now, there was also some video of, well, the way Target was treated during the BLM riots, and you can take a look at the video that you're looking at right now. That is, that's quite a cleanup there.
Yeah, that's a lot different. Now, you know, here Target has come out and said they felt that they were in danger based on conservatives coming in stores and complaining about the pride section and the children's section. Well, I think it's good to remind everyone, thanks to DC Drano for posting this video up, that you know what? It's not conservative Americans that were rioting and sitting there tearing apart Target stores. No, those are BLM rioters. So let's make sure that everyone knows the facts and the truth. Target's not in any type of danger from conservatives, but you definitely were from BLM rioters and looters, and that's a shame.
That's a great thing to point out here, because I know Target tried to spin those headlines that conservatives were coming in there angry and being violent, and you might have had a few mama bears and things coming in there and having a few words with the manager, but nothing like what happened during the BLM riots. And I'll say this, I know that there were several stores that closed around the country due to a lot of this stuff. You had some Walgreens, you had some CVS's that closed because of those riots, and certainly I would not be surprised if we had some Targets that might shut down as well due to the riots. Now, you know, we say all of this, and if I was a marketing director for, let's just say, Walmart, and we're friends of Walmart, we have nothing against Walmart, I would be, starting on June 1st, I would be showing about every American flag I could possibly get my hands on, and I would display it all over the stores, and I'd stay away from all these cultural issues, because we do know that it does not pay off to go woke. And that cliche is kind of, that line's kind of cliche, but you know, go woke, you might go broke.
Right. Well, I see things from a business standpoint. I'm a business owner too, and I think the best thing for businesses and big corporations to do is get the politics out of your business. You should be focusing on your customer, and you should be focusing on who your biggest consumer base is. And guess what? It's not the trans agenda. That is a very tiny percentage of the population. And let me remind everyone, as a member of Congress, I can tell you right now, people that are trans have the same rights as every single other American, and we want them to have the same rights. They have the same freedom of speech. They have the same Second Amendment. They have the same ability to vote. They have the same ability to get an education. They can buy a house. They can get a job. They can identify however they please. But when it turns into a political agenda and it's run through major corporations, it's run through businesses, and it's shoved in your large percentage of your customer base that doesn't agree and doesn't want to participate, then you are not acting like a business, you're acting like a political organization. And that needs to stop. And I'll say this, we need to focus on customer service. That's one of the things that I always love talking about President Trump with. President Trump and his very successful businesses, from amazing hotels to beautiful golf clubs and properties all over the world, Very, very successful business, and his business model is a model of excellence for the customer, a true customer service experience, and of course treating his staff and employees very, very well. This is something to remember. This is what we do in our business as well, and I think that's what businesses should focus on, Brian. But you know what? You know who I think has the buying power in America? It's the conservatives, not the woke mob.
There you go. So make those choices when you go to spend that dollar. Well, this has been fun.
Yeah,
fun again.
This is great. Thanks for joining me.
Yep.
Okay, you guys, don't forget to hit share. Make sure that you share with your family and friends, and we'll see you back next time on Battleground MTG.